The issue and controversy surrounding sports gambling and match fixing is one that has plagued all forms of organized sports since the inception of time. Sports like football, basketball, and rugby have not been immune to this sort of thing over the years, but perhaps no other sport has witnessed this as much as the combat sports genre.
Getting better here in this round, though.
Oh, man.
Until that.
Oh, he's done. He's done.
It is all over. History has been made. Conor McGregor.
From boxing to MMA, the plague of match fixing has always seemed to find its way to the forefront of the news, and it seems to be rising again. This time, in MMA's pioneer and biggest organization, the UFC. In the early parts of November, following the UFC Fight Night, after the fight between Darrick and Shayilan Nuerdanbieke, suspicious betting patterns were discovered with coach James Krause at the center of it all.
Hurt you.
You gotta throw that 3 after.
You're just throwing one backside 6. Add punches to it. Put some numbers together for me. Do you understand? Hey.
So, let's get into our topic for today, James Krause and the issue of match fixing. On the 5th of November, following a fight involving UFC featherweight fighter Darrick, some suspicious betting patterns were discovered by the FBI and various organizations. Odds against Minner grew astronomically just before the fight. In fact, the odds against him doubled from being a plus 180 underdog to a plus 300. This on its own began to raise some eyebrows and interesting questions. Things began to seem a lot clearer when Darrick threw one body kick and immediately injured his knee in the first round, which subsequently led to him being knocked out. Surely he was carrying the injury before the fight, and given how fast and by how much the odds swung pre-fight, word must have certainly gotten out. But who could have been responsible for such a thing? Well, step forward James Krause. James Krause is a retired MMA fighter who competed in the welterweight and middleweight divisions of the UFC in his time as a fighter, and he is currently a full-time coach and owner of Glory MMA Gym.
Tappy goes to sleep.
Now it's crazy. He actually lives with me now. So, yeah, and he's still a show, but he's a lot more fun to be around.
Having that realness and having that that type of connection, knowing that at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, he's going to tell me what I need to do to change my life, and it's up to me. That right there, it's his weight in gold.
Over the past 2 years, Krause has publicly claimed that he has made more money from sports betting than he ever did competing in the organization.
I do pretty well. I make more money gambling on MMA than I do anything else.
Come on, more than even coaching?
He currently runs a Discord where he claims to have thousands of members, with subscriptions ranging from $50 to almost $2,000.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a Discord, like 2,000 members in it. We crushed it. Last week we destroyed it. I take over people's accounts and play for them. And
he has also publicly admitted that he places bets on his own fighters.
And just curious, like the Moreno fight, like fights that you're involved in, will you bet on those too?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
sometimes. Yeah.
So the man certainly knows a thing or two about gambling and match fixing. And here comes another headline about his former trainee, Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson, a former featherweight contender, was scheduled to fight the great Amanda Nunes in March 2021 in what was billed as the toughest possible matchup for the women's MMA GOAT. But in a rather surprising turn of events, Nunes made light work of Anderson and finished her in the first round.
Oh man, this is tight.
Look at this. She's got it.
Just showing another skill.
It's a wrap.
Megan's gonna tap.
It's a wrap. Or she's gonna.
And in some recently deleted tweets by Megan, she ripped into James Krause. According to her, Krause all but neglected training her entirely. Pad works were minimal, as well as grappling training. She also revealed that little attention was paid to fighting plans against the greatest fighter in the history of women's MMA. Based on all what she said, it almost felt like Krause wanted her to lose for his own personal interests. All of these, compounded with a host of other accusations, don't make for good reading for James Krause. He has already been banned from the UFC, his means of livelihood is gone, and regardless of what future investigations might reveal, things are not looking good for James Krause and all affiliated to and with him. Krause has been banned from all forms or activities pertaining to the UFC, and has been banned from sports betting too.
UFC going to do? Listen, we let these guys know not to bet on fights. Do you know what the outcome of this is? Like, if I penalize them, you get cut. They're going to go to fucking federal prison.
He has lost his access to all fighters under him and has even been reported to have sold his share of Glory MMA Gym. And barring any regional and meager MMA competitions, you highly doubt any fighter or promotion would want to ever associate with the name James Krause again, given the cloud around his name. But it isn't just the man in question that has his career on thin ice. At the time of recording, James Krause trained 13 UFC fighters, one of the highest of any coach in the UFC, and all of whom will have to switch camps and training coaches if they ever want to compete in the UFC again. And this development would hit no one harder than former UFC flyweight Brandon Moreno. The Assassin Baby is one of the most prominent stars in the UFC today, and has an upcoming title matchup in just over a month's time. If he continues to train under Krause, then he is certain to lose that title shot, and having to switch camps just before a fight of that magnitude is never advisable. It truly is one of the worst possible scenarios for one of the UFC's biggest stars. Even the UFC has not been exempt from some of the potential consequences that have emanated from this dire situation. Being the biggest MMA organization in the world, and one of the biggest in the entire sports industry, the UFC is going to attract a lot more attention than your regular promotion, and that has certainly been the case in this scenario. Barely 4 weeks after the incident, betting and gaming commissions in Ontario and Alberta have suspended all betting on UFC events pending when the investigations are completed. However way you look at it, whether you think it's an overreaction by the commissions or not, you can't deny that this is a monumental blow to the image of the entire UFC, and you can be sure that other commissions will begin to follow suit in the coming weeks and months. This scandal has rocked the world of MMA unlike few others in the history of the sport. All fighters and coaches alike have been banned from participating in all forms of sports betting, and the UFC itself has been subject to a lot of bad press in the past couple weeks. And while investigations are still going on, the jury seems to be out concerning the future of James Krause. Guilty or innocent, his MMA story might as well be over.